Welcome back. This is the second half of our newspaper review on K24 TV, looking at the big stories across your dailies, but also talking about facing the mountain. There have been rumblings of disquiet in the region. Really, what is the issue there, and how do you make this a broader conversation right across the country? That's what we're talking about this morning. We also have our question of the day. Let's have that up on screen. Are the regional meetings and rallies the hindrance to national unity? Once again, are the regional meetings and rallies the hindrance to national unity? Send us your messages on WhatsApp, the WhatsApp number at the bottom of your screen. You can also get me at I am Jeff Mote or at K24 TV. Let's have them up. Jeff, I don't think regional political meetings can hinder national unity. All politics are local and regional people, and leadership ought to converge for the interests of their people to deliberate their role in economic and political leadership in Kenya and how they are going to benefit. It's good to understand that our politics permeates from our different ethnic settings, which I believe is not negativity, but divinely bestowed by nature. That's Jenga Wakongo from Kihara, ardent contributor on the show. Let's see, morning, instead of having regional meetings, we should be having a different narrative of what affects the entire nation, such revival of our economy other than tribal politics. Okay, that's what we have. Keep them coming in, of course, at I am Jeff Mote on Twitter, at K24 TV, or the WhatsApp number on the screen. I have Madam Beatrice in studio, Hon.Jeremiah Kioni joining the conversation virtually, of course. He's in Daragwa. Hon.Jeremiah, let me come to you because, as Alachi said, this could be an indictment to leaders of the region, and they haven't delivered the goods so far, and that's why we're having these rumblings of disquiet from the area as a whole. What's your reaction to that?
Back in 1965, we had what is popularly known as Session of Paper Number 10. And this was a paper that was done to help kind of jumpstart the economic growth of this country just after independence. This session of paper has been used by many other leaders from other regions to unfairly target Mount Kenya and perpetuate a narrative that Mount Kenya is more developed than other areas. And I agree it was the case for some time. The development was started perhaps in Mount Kenya before it went to other areas. And that is not a statement that is 100% true. But perhaps back in the 60s and a little bit of the 70s, before the death of the first president of the Republic of Kenya, you could justify to say that there were more roads being done in Mount Kenya region as opposed to other regions. But that has changed. For the last 40 plus years, that narrative has been used by leaders from other regions to the detriment of people from Mount Kenya region. What we now have is an area that is being economically marginalized based on perceived political differences and misinformed narratives. And one of those narratives is what has been peddled because of what was done perhaps in the first regime. But we have been moving together as a country, and I think the starting point, it's been very difficult, even during Kibaki's time when I was there. Anytime Kibaki would try and do a development within our region, the whole of other communities in the country would wake up and say that Kibaki is just developing Mount Kenya region and he has abandoned other regions. We have seen billions, projects being brought. Leaders saying, look at what is being done along the thick highway. Look at what is being done in this. Anytime we had tried to do a development in our region, all the other leaders would come up and say, as it was the case in the first regime, all that is being done is developing Mount Kenya region. Now, Mote and my good friend Erachi, these narratives needs to be changed so that the people who are in power, and it does not need to be a leader from Mount Kenya region, any leader coming to Kenya must see us as we are. Without doubt, Mount Kenya has the highest population density in this country. Perhaps we can only be rivaled by Western Kenya, Kakamega, Bungoma areas. But what it means is that the higher the population, the higher of everything. In this particular case, I want to talk about employment. We have the highest unemployment rate in our region. And if we do not engage leaders in other regions so that they can actually understand the difficulties that we are in as a country, as a people from Mount Kenya, and we are engaged in some funny economic issues that I hear people peddling now, we will continue being marginalized. And the formula that was passed the other day by Senate did very little to help in our region. What Uhuru did was to promise that money will be increased, and in the coming 3 years, then the formula will kick in. But for the coming 3 years, we'll have lost to the tune of about 60 billion shillings. If we do not engage other regions in this country by getting to them so that they can understand us and we understand them, clear the misunderstandings that are there, we in Mount Kenya region will easily be marginalized because of those narratives. And you now can see, the speaker has put it very nicely, the blame is now being changed to focus on those who have been there for 3-4 terms and have not brought changes in their region. How are they going to bring changes in their region if the whole national psyche was against the region by saying that this area of yours is developed? Why do you want more money in your area? And I can tell you, last week I hosted 11 members of parliament in my constituency, led by Mheshimiwa Wafula Munyenye. Why did I do that? I wanted them to come and see that the kind of development that they have been leading in the papers and being told by social media, in the electronic media, has nothing to do with the regions we come from. It is something somewhere up in the utopia somewhere. And Wamunyenye, in a recorded statement, did acknowledge and said, is this the Mount Kenya we have always been told about? If we do not bring leaders from other regions to come and see that the narrative that has been peddled for the last 40 years, that has made it difficult for leaders to deliver, including Mwai Kibaki and even Uhuru Kenyatta. The other day, we talked about doing a road from Thika Highway, Keno, to a place called Marwa. And what did I hear from the leaders from Northeastern? They came and said, look at the amount of billions Uhuru wants to spend in Mount Kenya region. And they cannot quite even look at the billions that are being spent in their own regions. So we have, as a first thing to do, engage other regions, bring them to our region so that they can understand us and sympathize with the pathetic or the very difficult situation that our people are in. And without that, I can tell you, even engaging in a political discussion as to who will take leadership and the rest will become completely misinformed by the narratives that have been there in the past. So I want to say,
Honorable Kioni, I want to jump in right there before you move along. Honorable Kioni, I just want to jump in right there. Yes. Very quickly, bounce to Beatrice and then come to you on this one, because there's something interesting you've raised there in terms of engaging different communities so as to get this economic prosperity and move it forward. I want us to take it back to last weekend. We saw a couple of Kikuyu elders, as they were called. Honorable Jeremiah Kioni was part of that delegation that went to Bondo. Bondo elders will be going to Nyeri this particular weekend. And Madam Elachi, the optics on this don't really look nice, because some people are saying, are these the only two communities that can engage? Why didn't they bring other people on board? What really is going on here? It feels like they've been left out of this particular party. What's your take on this particular cross-cultural exchange that we are seeing between these two?
Well, I don't think any other community should complain, because this is a cross-cultural program between Kikuyus and Luos.
No politics?
The politics will play, because we like putting everything in politics. But for me, the only thing I would just want to say, I hope it is an exchange that brings in more cohesion, more harmony, and more understanding. If I look at Nyanza, I think one of the things you have to appreciate is when they say they want to do something, they do it in a manner where you will feel there's some genuinity. And the Central has to come in the same way and show, yes, we agree in this, and so that we remove that doubt, you get? Because people always doubt. They will doubt the handshake, they will doubt this, all these things. And let me say for Central Province, you are a community that has been blessed to be able to go anywhere and survive. And therefore, it is for your own good when you do cultural exchange with not just Luos, but with any other community.
Right.
Because wherever you go, you'll still find someone there. It's like the Somalis. You will find them anywhere in this country. Why? Because they believe in business and all that. It's like Luos. You'll find them everywhere in this country. Same with Luyas. You go to Mombasa, you go to Malindi, you go. So in terms of an exchange cultural program, and today with our intermarriages, I don't see anything wrong with that, unless we will want to now politicize and make it so political and start now putting even issues of elders. Who are the elders? I appreciate the Maasai community, because they have a time when young people are now taken through a passage of right to join the elders. And so for me to come, and I'll give an example of Zach. First of all, Zach is married, and he went into a traditional marriage, which we were part of it. So and he has a child, and I think maybe another one on way. So to now start picking them, those are the young people who are supposed to be moving into a passage of right, and if we want to help them to get to understand what is this when you get to the elder side. Right. What are you supposed to do? What is good for that? Because we are also, even the Constitution brings in alternative mechanisms of how we deal with things. Okay. And that's why you need them. But if we politicize it and make it and demonize it, then you're not going to achieve what you want to achieve. Okay. Yeah.
Let me get Honorable Kioni in on this one. He was there in Bondo, and I believe he'll be there in Nyeri this weekend. These meetings that we're seeing taking place, are they cultural, are they economic, are they political? What's really on the menu at this particular table?
One is that we did something in our Constitution 2010 recognizing that the need to grow our culture. And culture will be used to achieve many things. And I believe in this particular case, what guided my going there, and it is the thinking of even the other elders who are there, was that we need, just like we can see that we need to reconcile, there is need for a push. I see in a newspaper, Standard newspaper, a push to reconcile Uhuru and Kenyatta. There is need for us to reduce the tensions that have existed between us and the Luos, and they have been there. One of the things that I learned through this cultural engagement is that these tensions started way back in 1960s, and there are tensions that were there between Kenyatta, the Mzee, and Jaramogi Oginga and the Mzee, and interestingly, they were actually being fueled by people who never wanted to see the communities come together. And somebody was even able to give us the story of even how the tensions were again reignited between President Kibaki and the then Prime Minister Uhuru, not Uhuru, but Raila Amolo Odinga, after the 2007 difficulties that we had. So without doubt, there are individuals out there who would always want to make sure that communities are not in agreement, because that may help their political end goal. And as a community, as leaders in a community, we must now start sieving through these things and see, are we living a lie? And if it's not a lie, how can we actually solve the issues that were there? We were in Bodo, and I tell you, that is one of the things that I will always remain proud of having done as a leader in this country. Because we had some very frank discussions. And one of the clear things that came out is that even when we were there, we have Kikuyus who can speak Thoruo fluently, Luos who can speak Kikuyu fluently. I tell you the translations, because sometimes people choose to speak in their mother tongue, was being done in such a natural manner that you almost wondered, why is it that we have not been thinking about these things? And in that whole business, one thing that came out clear is that we have so many of our young people married in the rural land, and others have married in our area, like it is the case with other communities. And for that reason, one reason, we must reach out and ensure that there is coexistence. Two, and this came from the governors themselves. The governors made something that surprised me. They took the opportunity to invite people from Mount Kenya to go and tender for jobs in their region and engage in economic activities in those regions. And I hope that when they come to our area, we will be able to also invite them to come and do tendering in our area. Another thing that happens, and again it came from one of the people who spoke, a professor, somebody with a PhD, I think, in chemistry, a lady. And she said she was so impressed to see the Kikuyu elders in uniform and wondered, can this even uniform be used for the national dress, which we have been pursuing for a long time and not making it. So I want to say this, that the engagement that we had with the Ruos, the Ruo Nyanza, is not it's not something that is coming to an end. We were invited when we were there by Governor Oparanya and the king of, there's this king from, I'm forgetting the name, but we were invited by Governor Oparanya to have a similar engagement with Western Kenya, and I'm sure the elders will work on it, will work on that, led by our chairman. We were invited to Kulia by Governor Opando, or Obado, yes, Obado, and he was telling us of a few of members of our community who are within their area and how they took care of them during the 2007 difficulties that we had. And we would want to go to that community and say thank you, because those people are not going to come back to Mount Kenya. That is where they belong, and that's where they're going to stay. So as leaders, not just as cultural leaders, but even as leaders from other, this is the kind of engagement that we do. And once we have done that engagement, we should be able then to go to a table and then say, you have been to our area, we have been to your area, we need water, you need electricity, we need schools, you need hospitals, and that way we'll be able to share the national cake. Let me say this, the sharing of revenue in this country will continue being very difficult for as long as the leaders who come to the table have never traversed this country. You will be told of how difficult it is in Garissa, it remains in your imagination. But if you have traveled there and you have seen what the kind of life Kenyans in that region are having, you will then be persuaded much more easily to agree to the revenue sharing formulas that are supposed to be discussed every 5 years. If we bring the communities, and I really want the other 42 communities coming to Mount Kenya region, they will actually sympathize with the false narrative that has been peddled by politicians who want now to use the poverty levels that we are experiencing in our region for political gain, and to actually get us to fight one another because of the very high poverty levels in our country. If they would get the leaders to come to our areas, we will persuade them much more easily. At stake today is the equalization fund. If you hear the debate that goes on the floor of Parliament on the equalization fund, it is informed by misunderstanding, lack of knowledge as to how this country is. Leaders who have never gone outside their own constituencies, he cannot even be able to tell you how the neighboring constituency in his own county is. And you cannot be able to discuss national issues if you have not traveled this country. Okay. I want to encourage that this kind of engagement needs to be encouraged. They need to be embraced. Those who are finding it difficult to embrace them for now, I cannot tell you, it's just a matter of time before they come on board, because it is the way to move this country, and it is actually the way to eventually get national unity. You cannot get to national unity without understanding and appreciating the other community. Okay, let's they live and operate and do their things.
Okay, let's move it forward. On this one, we're pressed for time. I think we have 4 minutes to go on this, so we'll really need to move fast on this one. Another perception from this particular region is, and we've seen this on several dailies and the news as well, is that there's this search for a kingpin, for a point man, for a person who speaks for that particular area, or probably two people. When you look at Western, we do know the sentiments when certain people speak. They're speaking by and large for the area, the Rift as well, Coast as well. But in Central, it seems like it's fair play for everyone trying to get at it. Is that the problem, and how is that solved from where you stand, Madam Malachi?
Well, I think the way it should be solved is just by agreeing to each other. First of all, we have counties, isn't it? And I think what Kioni has said is very important, that then the discussion of having regional blocks is very critical. That if you want to see that development grow in Central, your regional block brings you together, and therefore you can put money together and say the road from Daragwa going through to Kioni is not done and so we can agree Nyeri and Laikipia to bring in money, or Nyeri and Nyandarua bring in money together, and you see the road move. Those are the and you work closely with the national government, because it's also a national government function.
Right.
But then now when you come to look at now the kingpin, I would want Central Province to just have an honest discussion on this, and sit and agree on all your leaders, because definitely at the moment now, you won't say so and so can be your kingpin. But if you agree in a manner where you have a meeting of Central Region or Mount Kenya region, and you say, we have 3 or 4 people, whenever they stand, let us appreciate they will be talking on behalf. It will be very important. And then you reduce your competition, because you are struggling. You're cutting each other until that is how you weaken the region. And anyone can think, I can also just walk in and become their own kingpin and decide their politics. And that is where it is going wrong. So for me, I would want Mount Kenya sit down as a team and stop this struggles that you have, because everyone comes out in a different way. And people will see. They will look at Honorable Kioni in a very different way. They will look at Governor in a very different way. They will look at Peter Ken in a very different way. And therefore, they will look at Kiraito, Munya, I mean, the whole of Mount Kenya. Everyone comes out with a gift they've been given by God. Now, if you appreciate that, you'll stop the fights and start bringing back the people together as all leaders. And always remember, you have a leader who we all respect, who has done so much for this country, who I believe, and people will say, Yalachi is saying it now, for years to come, we will never see a president who has worked the way Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta has worked across the board for this country. He is there also. And let us always appreciate that a leader blesses. Let us not ignore. And that is one thing we ignored so much about Moi, and we didn't learn from Mzee Moi. That you can imagine where Mzee Moi gets our president and brings until he becomes the president. And for no reason, God comes and shows us something else, Jeff, that who was the father for Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta? The real father, yes, was there. But the father who took our president to where he is today is none other than our late Mzee Moi. And he comes and God says, this is your father and you will bury your father. And indeed, he buries his father with dignity. But now, our leaders have forgotten that. That's why I was saying it is important for always, when we are struggling in all this, we have to go back to the Bible and ask God, just the way the Israelites used to ask. And I want to tell the Central Province people, you need to ask. Seek God in all this you are doing, for you know that you need him for your next level. And the country has to seek God for us to know who will be our next president. It's not us. By the way, it is in the end that God. We might ignore, and you will be so surprised how God works in different ways. So for me, Central Province has to appreciate every leader that they've seen have come out. Martha Karua is every leader. But in the end, those leaders must stop this inter-competition within the region and first bring out the people. Embrace everyone, regardless of how they are. That today, even if you're in a very serious competition, when it comes to a matter of Central Province, you stand firm.
Okay.
And then when you go to the others, you are okay. You are a team. You are united. You are able.
Let me get Honorable Kioni on this one. We have a minute to go, Honorable Kioni. I want to get you out of that chilly Ndaragwa weather because I know you've braved it for this entire hour. In 45 seconds, how do we solve this regional point man kingpin issue that has also been at play in the region?
Thank you, Moti. I can't wait for a cup of coffee. Now, one of the things that I would want to persuade my colleagues against is looking for a kingpin. And I can tell you that is why we are talking of a council of elders. It will be easier for us to agree to come together as a team and talk about if the way Kikuyus have always governed themselves is through a council, as opposed to being told by one person what to do. So this issue of a council of elders, people coming together and talking on an issue that they have agreed upon, will always be the way to get out of where we are as a country. Eventually, a person who becomes like first among equals will emerge from that council. And I believe that is the way we should go. I am not quite worried about who becomes the president in 2022. That will come out. For now, there are issues we need to deal with. And I'm interested in seeing the people, the persons, other leaders from other regions. And this is where I believe the leaders who are looking for political leadership from other communities would best come out and be appreciated in Mount Kenya region. Those who can help Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, the President of the Republic of Kenya, deliver to the people of Mount Kenya region so that there is calm. We need to uplift the standard of living of those in Mount Kenya region. We need to create employment opportunity. We need to see industries in this region like we are seeing other areas come. And this can only happen if what Uhuru is trying to do, and I can tell you that he's done it more than any other person before, but he needs the support of other political leaders, not leaders who are putting him down. He needs the support of other political leaders to also appreciate that development is also required in Mount Kenya region. Mount Kenya region needs to become calm so that the country can be calm. And that is what I believe is in the heart of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Not at the expense of any other person, but together as a country. We need to make sure that we appreciate every Kenyan. And when we are appreciating every Kenyan, then you look at the numbers, not just the size of the land. You look at the numbers. Where is it that we have many people?
Honorable Kioni, unfortunately, Honorable Kioni, we'll have to leave it at that for now because we are pressed for time. We're winding up the show on this one, but you have indeed put it across in terms of what needs to be done for the region. Thank you so much, Honorable Kioni, for that. Joining the conversation from Daragwa, that was Honorable Jeremiah Kioni weighing in on this particular issue, and a very chilly Daragwa at that. Thank you so much for your time this morning. You also had Madam Beatrice Elachi in studio. Asante sana, Madam Elachi, for your time as well. Asante sana. And of course, your views coming in on the WhatsApp number at the bottom of the screen, as you see it right there. We're asking a question as it stood right now. Let's have that up on screen. Are the regional meetings and rallies the hindrance to national unity? Once again, are the regional meetings and rallies the hindrance to national unity? Let's see what you had to say as far as that's concerned. Democracy is about divide and rule. There's no way a person can consolidate votes by security advisories. There's also no need to force a person to people who has lost relevance with the people. People follow a person who resonates with them. 2022 succession political campaign, development tours and politicians attending church services totally separated, need to be totally separated. Politicians, kindly respect the people who voted you in and perform duties separate and politics, far away from the church. Wilson Ngetich from Bomet. Those messages coming in right there. Of course, that's where we wind up our conversation this morning. It continues online, though. You can get me at I am Jeff Mote or at K24 TV. It's a short break right now, but we're back on the other side as we get interactive. Good morning.